Hi everyone, Future Crystal here. Just wanted to let you know that we had some audio difficulties when recording this podcast, so you might notice some audio is a little funky, but it shouldn't change the content or how you appreciate this podcast. Thank you for listening. Hi everyone.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Metal Gear University.
And welcome back. If this is your second episode with us, we really appreciate it. We've got such kind words on Twitter. No constructive feedback yet, but we are open.
Yes, we are always open to growing and becoming better. That said,
I think we realized something we missed last time, right?
Yeah. There were a few things that we personally realized because much like Solid Snake, it was our first mission.
We were nervous.
It was nervous and we just wanted to get it right. And for Metal Gear 2, we're like, okay, we're going in.
100%. We're ready. We've been talking all day. It is a few weeks left for the Master Collection. And so we're getting in the zone, I think. Getting in the zone.
That's for sure. So with that said,
should we do introduction, unlike what we did in the first episode?
See, that's you're good at this.
I saw you eyeing it, ready to jump in.
I'm out here repeating mistakes.
I saw you ready to jump in, but you know what? I'll go first then, since I'm talking. Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal. I'm also known as Kay on our Twitch channel because we stream on Twitch, TKM. So you might know us from there, but you can call me either. And I have been a Metal Gear fan for, I would say, under 10 years. Sounds like a meeting. Hi, my name is Crystal. But go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Tom, also known as T. We both stream on Twitch under TKM. You can feel
free to call you.
Yeah, feel free to stop by and say hi. We're probably streaming some bullshit, but random strangers always welcome. I've been a Metal Gear fan since 1998. As I said in the previous episode, I was introduced to the series through a Pizza Hut demo disc.
The blue one.
Yeah, specifically the blue one. Haven't looked back since. I have been hyperfixated on this series for mad long, but it's been a blast.
We haven't had a comment yet, but I'm hoping someone says it again. On YouTube, we make analysis videos. And on YouTube, someone said that you sound like Solid Snake. And
They're too kind.
And I think it's because you were so young when you started that your mind just morphed into the best Solid Snake.
I genuinely don't hear it.
I've known you for so long, I don't hear it either.
People said that I sound like a young David Hayter.
As well, yeah.
But man, I mean, I'll take the compliment. And look, find our YouTube channel. It's also called TKM, not to self-plug, but we're self-plugging on our own thing, so that's not self-plugging. But check out our YouTube. Go down to the comments of the cult video, I believe. And there's people that are like, yo, you sound like Snake. I'm like, yo, what? Okay, man. I'll take it.
I'm telling you, it hit you at that crucial moment in your development where you're like, I want to be Solid Snake. And your voice just shifted to match. But, and with that was, I think, the only thing missing from our first episode. So, our little intros. And like you said, we are so excited to jump in to this episode. But before we begin, like I said, there's a pop quiz.
Oh, no.
I have written down 5 questions of varying levels of difficulty. Are you ready, T?
I'm ready.
I will go by, what would you prefer? I say the question and you answer, or we go through all of them, give you a second, and then you answer them?
Let's go with you ask me a question and I'll answer it.
Got you. You ready?
Yes.
Pop quiz question number 1. What was Dr. Madnar's daughter's name?
Ellen.
Correct.
Ding, ding, ding. I knew it.
Pop quiz question number 2. What is the unit that Big Boss commanded and that Solid Snake was a rookie in?
Foxhound.
Correct. I didn't expect any less.
Wow.
Question number 3. Name one boss from Metal Gear.
Okay. I could go with Machine Gun Kid. I can go with Shoot Gunner. I can go with Coward Dog.
Oh, you trying to get bonus points now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Correct. These last two questions get a little bit harder.
Okay.
Question number 4. True or false? The soldier that went to outer heaven before you is called White Fox.
Can you repeat that again?
Question number 4. True or false? The soldier that went to outer heaven before you is called White Fox.
Can we skip the question? We'll come back to
You
it.
must answer the question before we move forward.
False?
Correct.
All right.
What is his name, silly?
It's Gray Fox.
It's Gray Fox.
It's being a silly head. Yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
And this is a hard one.
All right.
Snake had to infiltrate outer heaven. What was the operation called?
Oh no, this one is not written down.
What do you mean the answers weren't written down? Oh, come on, mister. I've been part of it since 99.
Yeah, it's N3313.
Okay, you were a little nervous?
No, I knew it. I just thought it would be funny to bring up because, like, to the listeners, I'm literally staring at it in front of my face.
I'm gonna be honest. I left it blank because I forgot. That was 100%, and honestly, a little brownie points.
Hey everybody, this is Future T. Just want to clarify. The operation number was N313. So I was wrong. And that's okay, because we're right 80% of the time, so that was the 20%. Alright, that's it. Goodbye.
Please remember, every episode will have a pop quiz at the beginning that references the previous episode. And, maybe for some old fans, they want to be a part of getting their trivia on check, Let's start with this discussion on Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake.
This game doesn't get enough respect.
Oh my god. I cannot begin to tell you how much I love this game.
It is literally a 2D version of Metal Gear Solid. And I sincerely mean that.
It really feels like, and you said this earlier, Tom, Metal Gear was the prototype. This game, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Kojima was like, I'm gonna show you some shit right now. I'm going in.
Oh yeah. This game starts off with like a opening credits sequence. Every single thing that you liked in Metal Gear is in this game, and it's amplified.
It really feels like the budget went up, the time went up. It really feels like Kojima and his team had the support needed to fully flesh out their vision. I think Metal Gear really kind of was like a prototype. And I think in this game, he was able to say, you know what? See what I can do. I'm going to show you a game. I'm going to show you one.
Mm-hmm. And last episode, I said that I hesitated to say that the music in Metal Gear was iconic. This game, I am not saying that. The music in this game is iconic. Like the opening track. Yo, that shit hits hard.
Opening
so
credits
good.
is such a funny idea for a video game as well. I feel like the music is so elevated. I think it's in part, this was released on the MSX2. So I can imagine this elevated capabilities, not only for graphics and music, but maybe just a larger file, because this game is also so fleshed out. This game is a lot more in here. Our notes are 7 pages long. So if there's anything I can say, you should play Metal Gear. You should play the older games. Metal Gear 2 is a game I recommend 100% if you're going to play any of the older games. This one is fantastic. And I think, like you said, it's not talked about enough. And then also, it was trapped for so long. The last area to play it, unless you're quote unquote emulating it, is on the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection, no?
Yeah. You could play that on, like I said before, like there was a port that is available to play on like the Xbox Series X, but
True.
But still, it's only able to play that because it's you're
backwards compatible, right?
Yeah, it's backwards compatible. Like it's not like it's a modern port. And with these modern ports, you'll be able to experience all these games fresh and new. It's It's a really exciting time to be a Metal Gear fan.
We said the exact same thing last episode. Again, this game is worth a full playthrough. This one will take you longer than Metal Gear, but if not for the story, for the design, for the game mechanics, and the story, that's it. That's the whole game, isn't it? Play this game. I described every part of what makes a game. You should play this game.
For the love of God, please.
Please. Shall we jump in?
I would love to. Okay. So let me paint you a picture. First and foremost, when you started the first Metal Gear, it just goes pew, pew, Metal Gear.
Iconic.
It is. You press start and you're bang, you're in outer heaven, right? Yeah. This game, you start it and it goes, in the late 1990s, the world is embarking on an age of peace and stability. And you're like, what is going on?
Mind you, again, opening credits. Does this little paragraph happen before or after the opening credits?
After.
So, okay, before you jump into that statement, which is already wild, the opening credits are minutes long. Like, you were there for minutes.
Yo, that's a banger, though.
And it's like Kojima. And I'm sad I don't know any other person on the team. But it's Kojima. It's other team members. You get visuals during these credits of this mech. Don't know what the mech is.
Mm-hmm.
Of characters. It's a very stylized, what would you say? Like not sci-fi, but like you're seeing like snapshots of a giant mech. You're seeing blueprints. You're seeing kind of like, it's almost as if they're showing you the mech being built.
Yeah.
So it's a very already, you're getting thrown into this kind of sci-fi, science-y type of feeling. And then
you jump into this. Now I'm just going to read this off because I feel it's important to set the stage on where this game is taking place and to show you like the literal shift. Because like the last game had its serious moments, but this game is like oh, okay, you're ready to step into like the big pool. You know what I mean?
There's a message.
Yeah. So I'll just read through the opening credits and then we'll just discuss. So these are the opening credits. It is the late 1990s. The world is embarking on an age of peace and stability. Relations between Cold War superpowers have thawed. Regional conflicts are being resolved. The threat of nuclear war is now a thing of the past.
But there are some who do not desire peace. An atmosphere of tension begins to build in the Middle East. A military junta comes to power in Zanzibar land, a small nation bordering on the USSR, China, and the Middle East.
Zanzibar land attacks nuclear weapons disposal sites around the world, seizing those weapons that are still intact, and becomes the world's only nuclear power. It then begins to invade its neighbors at will. After renouncing nukes forever, the world is once again threatened by the specter of nuclear war.
Meanwhile, the world's oil supply, which was to last another 30 years, suddenly and unexpectedly dries up. Without a safe alternative source of energy, the world faces a severe energy crisis. It is in these dire circumstances that Dr. Keo Marv, a Czech biologist, develops Oil-9, a microbe that can synthesize high-grade petroleum.
With this discovery, global tensions are once again on the rise. On his way to attend an American scientific conference, Dr. Marv is kidnapped by agents of Zanzibar land. With its nuclear weapons and the secret of Oil-9, Zanzibar land plans to achieve global military domination.
A tiny microbe, only a few microns wide, is about to change the world forever. Before we say anything, did I say junta right?
I believe so.
Junta?
The proper pronunciation is junta, and it's a military dictatorships that are led by a single military dictator known as a strongman. That's it. All right, continue.
Let's take a second because, again, you are a child or a young person like ourselves starting this 2D adventure. You turn on the game, you're ready to play as Solid Snake, and you're brought into a political atmosphere that's realistic.
Yeah, this sounds, I mean, it sounds fantastical with Oil 9, but this doesn't sound too far removed from what could be happening in real life, you know?
I think Metal Gear, in my mind, at this point, is kind of centered in like it's based in real world events. Like it's like a fan fiction of our life. So it's very realistic and I would say even like historical tensions.
Hmm.
Like this is a very realistic and maybe accurate portrayal of what's happening when this was made. And then you just throw in Solid Snake, Metal Gear, Oil 9. Like you're throwing little things in there to make it its own, story.
Oh, for sure.
So where do we begin? So first, this game is off the jump political.
Oh, yeah.
Off the jump. It's hard to you can't mention the Cold War and then be like, nah, this game doesn't.
Not only the Cold War. This game mentions the Cold War, the Middle East, USSR, China, nuclear weapons, an energy crisis. In the opening credits.
You're like, all right. What's going to happen? So I would say to begin, the main thing that jumps out to me is Zanzibar Land. And Zanzibar Land is obviously, it's not a real place.
No, it's not a real place.
And they say it's a small nation bordering on the USSR, China, and the Middle East. So it sounds like with the military junta, I think the military has come to take over that area of Zanzibar Land. So I'm imagining there's this little nation that's acquiring a lot of power and becoming maybe a thing of influence over there. It's a nation to look at.
Yes.
And apparently it's a nation to look at because it's aiming to become the world's only nuclear power.
And they actually succeed. And that's also a little fantastical part for this entry of the series, because the idea that everybody is going to sing Kumbaya and get rid of their nukes, I would wish for that to happen. I sincerely want that to happen. But I will never believe that will ever happen.
I like the juxtaposition too, like that paragraph that's stated. It starts with like, world peace is coming, and then it's like, psych. And a few sentences later, you're like, it's a very jarring paragraph.
Yeah, it just pulls the rug out from under you very early. Like you just step on the rug and it pulls you out.
World peace. Just kidding. Zanzibar Land. Nukes. Keo Marv is kidnapped. Who's Keo Marv? There's apparently an oil crisis, and Keo Marv is kidnapped. He develops Oil 9, and Zanzibar Land kidnaps him, as we can imagine, to kind of get their footing in this world they're trying to create as the only power.
Well, if you control the nukes and you control the oil, like, you're like king of the world. You know what I mean? You could literally command anything you want.
You would think all the other countries would kind of like band together to stop Zanzibar Land. That's
true. But that's why they have the nukes.
You know what? I totally forgot what the nukes.
You see, that's what it is.
So it's kind of like they have to get Solid Snake back. They gotta bring our boy back in.
They gotta get him back.
And that's exactly what they do.
After the events of Metal Gear, Snake more or less retires to the Canadian wilderness. He just wants to live in the woods.
I think after the events of Metal Gear, he's probably, around the age of 23, 24?
Yeah, he's like in his early 20s.
So, yeah, early 20s, went through a very traumatic event, I would say. Was a soldier, was, in this Foxhound unit, excited, and then tricked, hoodwinked, explosions, death, all this stuff happened. And like you said, he dipped.
Yeah.
He said, I'm good.
Yeah. When I have a particularly hard day at work, there's a little forest trail that I like to walk up and down. And I just like to be in the wilderness for a bit, And I can imagine for Snake, he had a particularly bad day at work. Only for him, it was probably a little more serious. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to go into that nature trail and live there.
For years.
Yeah.
So long, in fact, that this new head of Foxhound, Colonel Roy Campbell, calls him up and he's like, you gotta come back, Snake.
We need you.
We're bringing you back in. You gotta infiltrate Zanzibar land. There's a new operation name. It's called Intrude F014. Operation Rescue Dr. Marv.
Snake is like, goddamn, they got me.
So, Campbell, the new head of Foxhound,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm nervous, but Campbell is a good guy. He's an old fart.
There's no reason to not trust him, but given the events of the past game, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the head of the thing.
I would say what's interesting in this game too, and we'll talk about it again later, but a lot of the characters in this game are reassuring to Snake. There are moments, and Colonel Campbell is one moment. He often tells Snake, you can trust me. You can trust him. You can trust her.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this constant level of reassurance that is given to Snake. And like you said, it's for good reason.
Yeah. I mean, Snake, unlike in the previous game, has a lot more dialogue. He has a lot of personality in this game. There are moments where he's like a cheesy action hero.
Mm-hmm.
There's moments where he's like mopey. It's hard to really pin him down, but like
he's more fleshed out.
He definitely is. I think of him as like a 80s action hero archetype, because that's most likely what Kojima was going for when he made Snake to begin with, you know?
Again, Kojima was big into movies, wanted to make movies, and with the new capabilities, either due to MSX2 or due to their belief in him, due to the success of Metal Gear, he had more time to flesh out, more time and ability to flesh out things. So Snake is a fully three-dimensional character in this 2D space, unlike the first game where it kind of just felt like you were just silent protagonist going through the motions.
Mm-hmm. Snake is like, okay, I gotta find Dr. Marv. How am I gonna find him? And Colonel tells you that he has a transmitter implanted in his molar teeth, and that Snake would be able to detect it through a radar that he has.
Oh, great time to point out. If we can talk briefly about, is it called the HUD?
Yeah, HUD.
So essentially, of course, you have the main screen, which is, your map, Snake navigating through the terrain. On the right-hand side, you can see your ammo, your items, and on the top right is this like sensor bar. It holds like what would you say? It's like a map, very basic map that shows your little circular self walking through.
Yeah, I would say it looks like a grid.
Thank you.
And
yes.
It displays the map design, and it shows enemy placements, and it shows where you are on the map.
I just think it's a step up from the last game. It's a really pretty design that this game has.
Yeah, no, it has a really slick look.
All the sprites too are kind of updated, of course.
Yeah, everything's much more designed. Snake can actually crouch and crawl.
Yes.
Which I know in 2023 is like, whatever. But that's a big deal at this time.
There's more sound effects too, where you get a call. So it's different types of little rings and blings. It very much feels like a movie. But yes, sorry. This game is so fantastic, I can't help but go off on a tangent. But Colonel Campbell tells you that Dr. Marv has a transmitter in his molar teeth.
Yes. As you navigate the terrain, you realize that there are updated mechanics like we were just describing. Enemies could hear you on certain floor types. It'll prompt them to go, hey, what's that noise? With a few question marks above their head. You could knock on walls to make guards attract to your position, and you could kind of like juke them a little bit. And this is like very like profound to me at the time.
It's the first game. You were stealthy as a limitation of the MSX. In this game, you are stealthy by design, by choice. You can do things to alert guards, not alert guards. You can choose to go a very spy route and walk slowly or watch where you're stepping so you don't make noise. Mm-hmm. It's giving you gameplay options. You can go out guns blazing, or you could take your time and sneak through everything, which is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a step up from the first game in many regards. Snake infiltrates Zanzibar land and makes contact with Holly White, a woman who infiltrated Zanzibar land a month ago, posing as a journalist. What?
I don't understand. Zanzibar land is apparently this strong but small nation. You would think it having oil 9 diagrams or the mechanics, you think with the nukes it has, you think security would be tighter.
You think?
Why? Who is? Do you believe she's a journalist? Did you first believe she's a journalist when you played this game?
Man, I didn't even know what to think about her. Because, like, I was thinking just purely on the fact of, like, okay, if I'm a pretty much a evil, secluded nation, would they accept a journalist?
I always thought she infiltrated.
Posing as a journalist.
Oh. You see, that's where I missed it. You see, that's even worse now. My whole headcanon is twisted. Why would they take a journalist? Maybe to be like, don't worry, everything is okay. We don't have a nuke. You invite someone in and fool them so they go back and tell people. That sounds
Maybe.
That sounds like a different game we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But she is not a journalist. Do we know what she is really though?
I believe she works with Campbell.
She's just working with Campbell, right?
I believe so.
On that note, Campbell says you can trust her, which is his attempt at reassuring Snake, because Snake is at this point suffering from nightmares and flashbacks. This is something that he's told Campbell, that he retired, he came back in, and he can't shake the feeling of what happened in Outer Heaven.
She tells Snake that she knows the layout of the base fairly well and will be able to assist us, which is helpful.
I think, we can definitely trust her. It's just, again, why are all these people? I'm infiltrating this base. There's always other people here too. It almost makes it more complicated, and like it makes no sense. I feel like Snake, if I were him, I'd be really confused as to like, is already another person involved on my team.
Yeah.
When I'm supposed to be infiltrating it and be sneaky.
And like, at least tell me before I get there,
I guess there's like double agents, right? It's a whole military operation, so you have to have your plans and sources and whatnot.
Well, Snake eventually makes contact with Marv thanks to the transmitter.
And his tooth.
In the tooth. Only, it isn't Marv. Marv fades away to reveal Black Ninja, the first boss of this game. Apparently, the transmitter Marv had was like a cheap thing, and Black Ninja was able to replicate it. Okay. He then goes on to tell Snake that he's a former member of NASA's Extraterrestrial Environment Special Forces Unit. What the hell is that?
I am telling you all this now. That is never brought up again.
Yeah, I'm breaking format of this podcast just to tell you that is not brought up anymore in this game. It is not brought up anywhere else in this series. I don't know what that is.
It really makes no sense, especially when you consider after you beat Black Ninja, he takes off his mask. That's how I envision it in my head. He takes off the mask, he rips it off, and he says, I'm actually Schneider.
Schneider?
So, you walk in, you thought he was Dr. Marv. He wasn't, that's one. He reveals himself to be Black Ninja. That's two. And then psych, he's actually Schneider. So this man, how many masks did he have on his face?
I have no idea.
And Schneider is from Metal Gear. Well, the game we spoke about in the last episode. Schneider was part of the resistance team that you were working with to fight Big Boss in Outer Heaven.
And now he's here, and he's your enemy.
And again, this is the first couple of minutes of this game. This is the first boss. This is after, navigating the terrain a little bit, getting used to the mechanics. First boss, and already this kind of like almost twist.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a huge twist. And early on in the game, too. Snake's taken it back, much like the player, thinking that Schneider was dead at the hands of Big Boss. Schneider then says it was not Big Boss that almost killed him, but the United States, along with the rest of NATO.
Time out.
Yes?
Time out.
Yes? Keep my politics out of video games, you say?
I hate games of politics. I honestly, seeing that when we played Metal Gear 2 together, I was blown away because that's a hell of a claim in a video game. Like in media now and in gaming, you usually see like very much like pro stances, pro country pride and whatnot. But then to have this character now saying, the country you're serving They tried to kill me.
Yeah.
I was working for them to help them, and they betrayed me.
You don't see a lot of that in media nowadays. I mean, there are a few examples that people will point to, but they are few and far between.
Mm-hmm. And then for this to be in a 2D game, very interesting. So Schneider continues, and he says the United States, along with the rest of NATO, launched a massive bombing campaign that killed all of the resistance fighters and the children of Outer Heaven. Apparently, there were children on the base in Metal Gear. Like, in Outer Heaven, there were children on that base. We didn't see any children.
Yeah, but apparently there were.
And they're all gone now. And Snake, like us, are completely shocked. Schneider continues and says that the US and NATO didn't care about saving him or any of the war orphans. He states, I was almost killed, but not by them. By you and your country, and no one cared until he came. Big Boss.
What?
So, in Metal Gear, we killed Big Boss. The Outer Heaven was nuked or bombed to oblivion.
And we killed Big Boss.
We killed Big Boss. But Big Boss apparently saved Schneider, and it sounds like he's alive.
Sounds like he is.
So,
he's back.
Here we go again.
Schneider feels he still owes a debt to Snake. For old time's sake, he tells him how to find Dr. Marv. He's apparently being detained in a secluded cabin in the jungle, and a guard wearing a green beret knows the way.
Do you think Schneider felt connected to Snake due to their work as resistant members, or because of how he viewed Snake as a person?
I feel that Schneider knows that Snake isn't the people that did what they did to him. Snake is just a tool like he was.
So there's a kinship in that.
Yeah.
They're both soldiers.
Yeah. And I feel that Schneider has a certain level of respect for Snake. So he decides to continue to honor this agreement that they had back in the day and helps him one more time.
And I think to further that point, Snake in this game is a lot more talkative, and there's a lot more dialogue where he's beginning to, he's questioning what's happening, as opposed to just being a soldier and just going with the mission and that's all you're focused on. This one, he's like, what? That happened? Who did what? It's a lot more introspection that's happening in this game.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely questioning authority a lot more.
So Snake follows the guard with the green beret, and he gets to the cabin. One thing I want to point out in this section of the game, so, you're navigating through the terrain and the map, and you have to follow the guy in the green beret. And there's moments you're sneaking behind him. There's moments where he'll stop and turn around because he feels like he's being followed, I guess. Mm-hmm. And you're going through, I would say, 3 different maps. You're following him for quite a bit. And it's literally follow him, stop. Wait for him to turn around and turn back. Follow him, wait. He continuously is checking you. So you have to be patient and follow him because we never saw what happens when you get caught. But maybe it just resets, game over. Mm-hmm. But gets the cabin. You find no way in, but you hear knocking. And Campbell says, oh, you know what, Snake? Look in the manual. I think it's Morse code. You know what he means with the manual?
What does he mean?
You tell me, Tom.
The physical manual.
In the game case.
Yeah.
What is going on with this?
And if you look it up, because even in the Legacy Collection, there's a digital manual that you could look at. You go to a page and it literally fucking maps out Morse code. 1 knock A, 2 marks B, or dash C. I don't know Morse code, but you know what I mean. It goes on and on all the way to Z. And it's up to you, the player, to sit there and listen to these knocks.
I forgot about that. You have to decipher the Morse code, right?
You have to. Or you could look at it online. But you eventually find out the code, and it's a codec frequency. Snake calls it to reveal Dr. Petrovich Madnar.
So again, we're here to find Dr. Marv. Dr. Madnar is from Metal Gear.
That's Dr. Petrovich.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So now Snake is thinking, why are you here?
It's like a family reunion.
You know, why are you here, Dr. Madnar? And Dr. Madnar goes on a little spiel. He says, I'm a colleague of Marv, and I was kidnapped along with him in the U.S. Snake says, love of God, I want this mission to be over. That's me thinking about what Snake says in his head. But Snake says, I want this to be over. Where is Marv? And Madnar says, Snake, he was moved a few kilometers north of a tower building a few days ago. So again, the goose hunt continues.
Mm-hmm. It's always like your princess is in another castle.
Oh, that's a good point. Good point. Or you have one mission and then it's like, oh, here's another mission. Here's little sub-missions thrown in. Like just more put on his to-do list.
Mm-hmm. So Madnar tells Snake, can you guess why I was kidnapped and left alive? Yeah, man, it's like a game show, sure.
Just tell me.
He tells Snake that Metal Gear is once again being developed. And that this one is even better than the one that Snake destroyed in Outer Heaven. That one was just a prototype compared to this one. And that Zanzibar Land is even making moves to mass produce them.
So remember, in the first game, Dr. Madnar was kidnapped and forced to make Metal Gear. So it sounds like Dr. Madnar was brought here again to continue making Metal Gears. And it sounds like the blueprints have improved.
Yeah.
So they're making it... They're commercializing Metal Gear.
I mean, you gotta branch out, you gotta
make money moves.
Yeah, you gotta sell those t-shirts, man.
Gotta make some money moves.
And with Oil 9, Metal Gear, and the world's only supply of nukes at hand, Big Boss is set to take the world.
Jeez.
Madnar tells Snake that Marv is holding the secret to Oil 9, but he won't be able to withstand Big Boss's torture for long.
So Madnar continues and says that both his and Dr. Marv's transmitters were given to a female agent from STB. So Dr. Madnar had the same transmitter as Dr. Marv. I guess we don't know if Dr. Madnar had it in his teeth too. Mm-hmm. But they were taken from them and given to an STB agent? What's STB?
I looked it up shortly before we started recording. STB it's like secret police in Czechoslovakia. So it's like under the branch of like the Soviet Union.
So it's an actual like...
It was an actual organization.
So the USSR is working with Zanzibar Land in a sense.
We don't know for sure.
Okay. Madnar then tells you, hey, you can call a zoologist friend of mine. Here's his codec. His name is Jacobson, and he likes animals. Okay, we have Holly White here. We have, what's his name? Jacob Jacobson? We didn't write his full name down. I think we were just annoyed with him.
Jacobson, he is such a weird man to me. What is he even doing here? He's a zoologist.
You call him too, and I love this because you call him and he says, why does Foxhound use animals for code names anyways? Who came up with that idea that animals were so warlike? People, that's who. I just don't get it. Over and out. What?
This guy's just a piece of work, man. And to even go further into Jacob Jacobson.
Oh, I look it up. Mr. Johan Jacobson.
Okay, Mr. Johan. If you call him, you get a little sprite that shows his face. This man literally looks like Mr. Clean, looking over his shoulder in like a really sassy way. So like, I feel like he's like, you get like a little calling. Brip, brip. Oh, hi. My name is Johan. How are you?
No, his sprite is the sassiest. It really does look like he's looking over his like left shoulder to smile at you.
I was just looking at an article of chipmunks.
Would you like to hear about it?
They like to stuff their cheeks with acorns.
When you call him that first time, he just talks to you, and I feel like Snake is also weirded out because he lets Johan talk, and they immediately hang up. So I think Snake's like, I'm good. Okay, weirdo, I'm good.
Why do I even have your number, man? I like to think that Jacobson is literally in his house clipping his toenails or something, and then like Snake calls him, and he's like, hello?
So see, he's not on the base?
No, I don't believe he is, no.
Oh, okay.
He's just chilling.
All these people, like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Anyway, to continue, while making his way north, Snake gets a call from his number one fan. And we say this because during a codec, you usually get a picture of who you're talking to, and they have their introduction, their name. This person, there's no picture for them. It's a blank screen where their face would be, and they say, "I'm your number one fan. Be careful. There's mines around." So now, okay, who's calling? I'd rather this call than a call from Jacobson.
Yeah,
I will say that.
they're at least being very helpful towards the mission. You're crawling, you get the mines, you fight a hind boss, and might I say, the fastest runner in the world mercenary, whose name is Running Man.
Wait, you jumped ahead too quick. Hind boss. What is that?
Oh, that is a type of helicopter. It's a Russian-made helicopter.
So you fight the helicopter.
You fight the helicopter, but you find out that you can't fight the helicopter. You got to double back and get Stinger missiles. And in the process of getting these missiles, you run into Running Man.
And Running Man is the fastest runner in the world, hence his name.
The Running Man.
To beat him, you literally just plant mines in his path. He runs the same path.
He is, honestly speaking, the easiest boss in the game, in my opinion.
Very disciplined, has the same route each way. You just plant little mines and he gets got.
That's it. It's very funny. It's a very funny boss fight, in my opinion. There's lots of like little panting noises that he does. It's funny.
I like also too that the boss names are still in check with Metal Gear so far. Running Man, we don't know his first name. Like that's a descriptor. It's not even.
It's just like I run.
I'm the fastest in the world.
So Snake defeats both of these bosses, and he finds himself.
Well,
yes.
Hind, he doesn't defeat. He runs away because he needs to go find the missiles.
Well, yeah, but after you defeat Running Man, you do get the Stinger missiles, and then you defeat the Hind.
Oh, thank you.
So in the process of defeating these bosses, you find yourself in the tower building. Upon entering this building, Holly tells us that she got captured. God damn it.
So Snake then heads to the cell in the lower level to find and save Holly. And again, Snake in this game, there is so much character to him. He is putting the moves on her. He is being, also for a man on the job, be professional.
Yeah, he's like the Rizzler right now.
Oh, not that's what the kids say. Oh
that's
no,
that's
gonna
age. Say.
That's gonna age this podcast.
I don't give a fuck. It's fine.
Yeah, so Snake is the Rizzler. He's rizzing up on Holly. She's not feeling it. Also, they're on a mission. Holly continues on. She's like, whatever, Snake. Mm-hmm. She says, Snake, Dr. Marv sent a carrier pigeon. At this point of the game, when we were playing it, I cannot begin to tell you, I was just like, what is going on? There's so many different types of things happening in the sense of you got these weird bosses, you have these really complex looking mechs that are out there. You have, it's just so much happening. So the carrier pigeon, I was like, you know what? Of course it'd be a carrier pigeon.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you'd have to grab the pigeon in midair to get the message from Dr. Marv.
She tells you that this pigeon flew all the way up to the top of the tower building. So Snake, being a good little soldier, makes his way up, all the way to the top of the tower.
Did you save her, or did she just tell you to get like you went down, saved her, and went back up?
Yeah, you went down, saved her. She gives you like a key card, and she's just like, good luck. And then you're on your way.
You're on your way up, and it's a mini boss fight before you head up to the top of the tower to grab this bird. I just want to say this boss fight, I have the boss names at the bottom of this document that we took notes on. It looks, I don't know if he's crawling on the ceiling or he's on the roof. Like, his sprite looks so funny to me.
Oh, yeah, the booby trap one.
Yeah, he's just, like, shuffling across the map.
Yeah, I don't know. He's like Spider-Man or something.
I like to think he's just on the ceiling, bugging out.
And he's just, like, chucking grenades at you.
Yeah, and literally just throwing grenades, and you throw grenades back. That's how you defeat him. But anyway, that's a little boss fight. You go up, you find the bird, and catching a bird is actually pretty hard. It keeps flying away every time you go to it. You, of course, have to call your man Jacobson. And Jacobson says, yo, pigeons love rations. Who would have thought? And Jacobson was actually useful. Thanks, Jacobson.
Can you believe I?
What do you say?
Thank you. I would like to believe that Jacobson is probably just as shocked as Snake was that he actually ended up being useful for this mission.
With how sassy he looks, I bet he was like, I told you.
Like he just looks over his shoulder at Snake and he's like, "You want to know what pigeons like?
Rations.
They like rations, Snake. Rations with potatoes." I don't know where this accent's coming from.
Yeah, where is he based out of?
I have no idea. I'm thinking like a Dutch. I don't know.
Oh, because Johan.
Johan. I'm sorry to any Dutch listeners.
So Snake feeds the bird and he gets the message. And there's a little note tied to the bird's leg. It says, help, WIS.OHLO. But the H is lowercase. That's odd.
It does look odd. It almost looks like Wiss, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Wiss, period, Ohio. With the H being the only letter lowercase. And Snake is confused. And for help, of course, you're prompted to call your support team. He gets a call from Master Miller. And Miller says, Snake, flip it upside down. It's a codec frequency, dummy.
You're reading it upside down, idiot.
Who is Miller?
Miller is one of the military officials that trained Snake. He's part and parcel why Snake is as good as he is.
So is his name like Master? His name is Master Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, Master Miller. He looks so cool too. He looks kind of like Guile. He got little sunglasses, right?
Yeah, his sunglasses are pretty sick.
You can tell there's there's shades, like the way it's like colored in.
Mm-hmm.
But Master Miller's mad cool. He's like, and he's mad chill with it. He's like, yo, turn it upside down, Snake. You got this.
Come on, it's all right, man. In fact, if you call him on any other points in the game, he just gives you like funny advice. Like,
is it helpful?
Yeah, he's always like, stay hydrated. It's always important to drink water. Like, he just says stuff like that, you know?
He just really just wants to help. That's cute. Aw. Master Miller. What up? You see, compare it to Johan and Holly. I mess with Master Miller.
Miller's cool.
So we have this frequency now, right? Snake has it, calls a number, and it's Dr. Marv. Yes! Finally.
Contact.
But wait a minute. Dr. Marv can't speak English.
Son of a bitch.
So, you know, in your Rolodex of people to call, Snake's like, you know what? Madnar and Marv were colleagues. Let me call Madnar. And Madnar says, look, Dr. Marv wants to help, but we don't speak the same language. I don't speak Czech, and Dr. Marv speaks Czech. But Dr. Madnar tells you that there's an agent from STB that can speak Czech, and to find them.
To find this STB agent, Madnar tells us that she's using an enemy disguise. So it would be best to surprise her in the women's bathroom. Madnar's a little sus for this, I'm not going to lie.
Why is he sus?
Because, like, you can meet in other locations. The bathroom, I just find it funny.
Oh, it's kind of like, yeah, you're telling Snake to corner her in a vulnerable spot.
You know what I mean?
That is fair. It's nice to know that there's a variety of bathroom options on Zanzibar land. Because I think I made the assumption that there's only male soldiers, which is incorrect, just in general. And also maybe Big Boss is considerate of all genders.
He is considerate to anyone and everyone, which, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day, you know?
And there are also little kids on this base. Least we forget. There's little kids on this base, so I guess little kids can pick whichever bathroom they want, and there's options. Just an interesting little tidbit for me. I just noticed that in the game, and I was like, oh, there's okay. That's my own bias popping up.
So Snake follows Madnar's advice and follows this said agent. She is revealed, thanks to Snake's keen observation, to be Gustava Hefner, quote unquote, the Ice Princess, the famous Olympic figure skater.
So Snake is talking to her, right? He meets her. And I like what you said, that it's from Snake's observation. He's the one that goes, Aren't you Gustava Hefner? She doesn't even introduce herself. He off the bat was like,
I know you. And that infers, and this is my headcanon. You cannot change my mind, okay? This infers that Snake is a huge fan of Olympic ice figure skating.
I guess you can say that, but what if she's like a very notable ice skater?
Do you know any off the top of your head right now?
Apollo, oh no, is he a figure skater? No.
You could honestly say anything.
Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah, Beba Beba. Yeah, that's a figure skater. Gun to my head, I couldn't name a single figure skater.
Wait, there were some good ones back in the day, but yeah, I can't.
There was that one that got kneecapped. Like, that's the only one that I know.
Do you even know her name?
I don't even know her name.
But that's a good point. I was thinking in my head, maybe Gustava Hefner was such a prolific Olympic skater, and maybe Snake through osmosis and whatnot knew. But that is a good point. Like, you'd have to really be keen to figure skating, or maybe he's just a fan of the Olympics. But also, wouldn't that make her a terrible spy if people know who she is? So I think what you said, he must be an avid figure skater fan and just have an eye for it, because if she was prolific, she can't sneak anywhere.
Right?
That's a good point. My headcanon.
I like to think that Snake likes to be curled up on the couch with a bowl of popcorn, and he's like, she's gonna hit the triple axel. Nice.
Well, they go into more of that figure skating talk. I wish it's cool. I wish I knew more about it, but Snake is obviously enthused. And Snake's like, okay, cool. You're a figure skating. I need you to help me because I need to know what Dr. Marv is talking about. And I need you to translate. And she says, cool, bet. Why? I guess she trusts us because Dr. Madnar trusts us, right? Through that connection?
Either Dr. Madnar trusts us or Dr. Marv knows that we're coming. She just knows that there's a rescue. And then she sees Snake, she sees rescue. Okay. She's like, okay, bet. Let's do this.
Cool. So she tells us that Dr. Marv moved to a building even further north. So she's able to translate and say, he's further. And she said that Dr. Marv has concerns for Madnar. And
Snake says that Madnar is safe and that they need to concentrate on getting to Marv.
Okay, so yeah, Marv is like expressing some concern about Madnar, and Snake's like, don't worry, I got you. We got to get you first.
It's all good.
So Gustava leads Snake to a sewer, which you get through the female's bathroom elevator.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there an elevator in the female's bathroom?
I don't know.
Was there an elevator in the men's bathroom? Did we check?
Yeah.
There wasn't, right?
There isn't.
Questions.
There's a lot of questions there. I genuinely have no idea.
So you take the elevator that's in the women's bathroom, you go to the sewers, and Dr. Madnar is there? Where did we leave him off last time? He was in the cabin in the jungle.
He was in that cabin in the jungle, and he said to Snake, don't worry about me. I'm in a secure room, and I'll find my own way.
So maybe he's going through the swamps and the sewers to get out.
Yeah.
It's interesting that he wouldn't get caught either.
And that he ended up in this sewer in a very particular spot where we happen to be going. It's interesting.
I think
But we do find him.
I think everyone knows what we're alluding to.
I don't know.
We do find him. And he tells Snake that he tried to escape but couldn't find his way out. And so it's the three amigos right now, the three musketeers. They're all in the sewers, chatting and walking. And they're heading further into the sewer. And Madnar's like, yo, I need to take a bathroom break. And
disgusting.
We should have just brought him back upstairs real quick.
Yeah, right.
And while Madnar's away, we get this really cute moment between Gustava and Snake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really tender moment in which they open up about, honestly, like their feelings about this mission, but like their life.
Yeah, it's like a really nice moment. It's the first time that you see Snake really like open up. Mm-hmm. And he's sharing this moment with Gustava, who really needs this moment also. And it's a nice moment that they both share.
In my head, I feel like even though they're in the sewers, they're like sitting against the wall on opposite ends of the hallway, just talking. You know,
Hmm.
I get this really intimate feeling from it. They're tired, they're achy, it's a smelly sewer, but they're like, I need this moment to vent.
And we're in this together, you know?
And in this moment, Gustava opens up about her mother experiencing Poland during the Nazi invasion or Nazi occupation.
Hmm.
And so Gustava states, like, I kind of feel like my mom right now. Like, we're really getting background of these characters. She turns to Snake, you know, she's being vulnerable, talking about her family. She turns to Snake, do you have any family? And Snake says, I don't.
Yeah.
I have no family. I have no one.
And that's, if you think about it for a minute, that's kind of heavy, man. Like, that means like when Snake goes home, turns on the light, there's never anyone there.
I honestly, and I think about after the events of Metal Gear, which he went through a traumatic experience. You know, in this mission, he was brought out of retirement. That means he was by himself, and it's rough. Snake turns to Gustava and asks her, "Have you loved anyone?" Snake is vulnerable right now. Gustava says she loved a man from the West, and a man that she would have quit skating for, Frank Hunter. But in her attempts to join him in the West, she applied for asylum, and the U.S. rejected her. And since they were separated, they had to end the relationship. And she quits. She wound up quitting skating anyway and joined the STB.
And that is that. It's a sad story, man.
And the fact, you know, we don't have a timeline for how far apart this is, but I can imagine years,
Hmm.
years, and she still thinks about this man.
It's rough. It shows that what they had was something.
I wish she would have turned back the next Snake if he loved anyone. Do you remember if she did?
I don't believe that she did.
I wish we would have got that little nugget
Mm.
because I think maybe would have gave us much more clarity on just how lonely Snake is.
Hmm.
But we can already imagine that
He's probably a pretty lonely guy.
to ruin the moment. Dr. Madnar is back. He's like, I'm good. Let's keep going. They go through the sewers. They get out of the sewers, and they're brought outside. Hooray!
Hooray! They're not smelly anymore.
They look across yonder and they see this little bridge. It's a little old, little rickety thing, and they could tell it's super weak. And they each say, "Look, we have to cross one at a time."
Hmm.
What what I liked about this is that Dr. Madnar offers to go first, and he literally says, "I'll go. No one will miss me if I die." And he just runs across.
It's
And
like,
I'm
all right, man.
God damn. But thanks. I mean, the bridge is good.
Yeah.
So he goes across and he's like, yo, it's good. Let's go. Gustava goes next. She says, Snake, I'll go. She goes across the bridge. She makes it halfway and she's like, oh, Snake, this bridge isn't as bad as we thought. Come through. So she motions to Snake. She goes to reach Dr. Madnar and literally gets got. It's a literal jump scare. I jumped when it happened.
Yeah. It's very jarring.
It's not only the sound, but it's like flashing lights. Literally, I think a bomb hits the bridge, right?
It was either a bomb or like a
missile?
A missile. It was an explosion on the bridge for sure.
And there's an explosion on the screen. The lights flash. It's jarring.
Hmm.
And bridge is gone, collapse, and Gustava's body winds up on our side with Snake. And she is dying.
Hmm.
She is on Snake's side, dying, giving her dying monologue. Dr. Madnar gets kidnapped, but in her dying monologue, it's this again tender moment, but like it's frustrating because we just started opening up to this character. We just started learning so much, and now she's at the end of her life, going, "This is it. This is where my journey ends." And Snake's like, "No." He says a phrase that I love. The ice is beginning to thaw in the east and the west. You come on. And she's like, no, Snake. Here's card 6. And here's my brooch. And before she can explain its use, you know, she dies. But her last words, she goes, Frank.
Passes away. Incredible. Goddamn.
You know,
That sucks.
and before you or Snake can even mourn and take a moment to process that, Metal Gear is here.
Son of a bitch. You see it. It's there.
The way Metal Gear enters the scene, it is such a beautifully designed mech.
Mhm.
And this was actually a comment we got after our first podcast episode. They wanted to know how we felt about Metal Gear, or it's called
Metal Gear D.
Metal Gear D. And we don't really know why it's called Metal Gear D.
Yeah.
But they wanted us to know, how did we like the design of Metal Gear D?
Much like this game, it is very underrated. This Metal Gear looks cool as hell. It looks really cool. The Metal Gear that you fight in the first game looks a little wonky. You know, it looks like it needed like some more time in the oven. This Metal Gear got that time in the oven. You know,
you see it actively walking. You see kind of where the missiles are, where the cockpit might be. I really want to see it fleshed out in 3D. Like,
I would love it. You know, come to think of it, there was that Kickstarter recently, going a little off topic. There was a Kickstarter to recently get this particular Metal Gear to be able to be 3D printed, to have model kits. And I believe it recently reached its goal, and I am so excited.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll definitely put a link in the description or whatnot for people who are interested in that development. But it's apparent that this Metal Gear is so cool because you have people like that who want to be able to have blueprints for it, to be able to have the mechanics to build it. And then also, too, like, I feel like the game makes an effort to show how it looks. Like, it's always a very cinematic moment where the Metal Gear walks in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even in the opening credits, it shows different parts of the Metal Gear being designed and different parts of it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the developers of this game really wanted you to see this thing because they were like, we are proud of this fucker,
no.
you know?
And they were right, because it definitely, it's very much as detailed as can be for a 2D game. As detailed as can be. And, you know, back to the story, it's in front of you now. So Metal Gear is here, it's on the other end of the bridge, and you hear a voice. And Gray Fox is piloting this Metal Gear.
What? Gray Fox?
Gray Fox. Didn't Gray Fox die in Outer Heaven as well? We can assume.
You could assume that he died. Snake did rescue him. But, you know, you just rescue him and leave. Like, there's no confirmation whether he left, whether he died.
And also, too, if he was alive, why would he be my enemy now?
It's interesting, because he was part of Foxhound.
Yeah, he was on your side.
But now he's working with Big Boss.
Maybe he was always working with Big Boss.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was always working with Big Boss.
Let's keep going. Let's find out. And, you know, Gray Fox is in this Metal Gear. He tells you, leave now or perish. And you dip. You say bet.
Mm-hmm.
Snake continues on his journey, and he's prompted to paraglide off a building by Holly. So you begin to go up to the part of the tower where you can paraglide. On the way up, you fight these bosses, these enemies. They're called the Four Horsemen. And you're just fighting people in the elevator. It's like, what was that scene in Captain America?
Yeah, the Winter Soldier.
And he's just, it's just Snake fighting these four enemies in the elevator. And you're going up. And before you go to paraglide off the tower, you get a call. It's your number one fan again. And they say you can only jump at a certain time. The wind changes, so be careful.
Great. Excellent.
I think there's like a flag that you can watch, and it moves direction.
Mm-hmm.
And you wait for it to face a certain direction, and you paraglide across. And again, remember, you're paragliding to go across the bridge that was just destroyed by Metal Gear. It's a cute little graphic of Snake paragliding.
Mm-hmm.
I think Holly was like, I saw people doing it on Thanksgiving. Okay, Holly.
Why are paragliding on Thanksgiving for?
Maybe it was like a cute little, you with your family. It's the holidays.
Also, they celebrate Thanksgiving on Zanzibar Land? That's interesting.
No, but I'm thinking just in general she mentioned that. I don't think...
Yeah, but like, She saw. Oh, like she saw people paragliding somewhere else.
Yeah, the way I imagine it, she was like, "Oh, I watched it on Thanksgiving once. People paragliding." I think she just making competition.
But then what? Why is there a paraglider here then?
You're right, right? Snake didn't have one. Man, I don't know. This base is weird. Zanzibar Land got many kooky little things in here. Whatever, okay. So you make it over where the bridge blew up, right? You navigate through a new area, and then you run into a new enemy. And I love this enemy. One, because he hides in the tall grass. That's his whole mechanic. He runs around in the tall grass. You can't see him. He pops up, bang bang, runs around. And his name is Jungle Evil.
That's goofy. It sounds. The funny thing is, Jungle Evil sounds both cool and lame. It's towing a very fine line of cool and lame.
I did see some sources call him Jungle Devil, and I'm wondering if.
It might be a translation issue.
Ooh, that is interesting.
Because like evil and devil are, they're similar.
Interesting. Well, I mean, in this version, which is the MSX2 version, we see him as Jungle Evil. And again, like I said, he hides in the tall grass. There's a lot of different terrain on this Zanzibar land area. You fight him, and then you're prompted shortly after to fight another enemy whose name is Night Fright.
Lame.
And his deal is that he has camouflage that makes him invisible. And he also has a silencer on his gun, so he's just like a stealth assassin.
Pure stealth.
That's cool.
No, the mechanics for this fight I found to be pretty cool. He's not particularly challenging, but I love that this boss fight takes place in 4 different rooms, more or less, and Snake has to decipher where they are, because in one room there's like wood paneling, and the next one there's like gravel, and the next one there's like singing sand, which is sand that sings when you step on it, which happens to be a real thing.
Yeah, I don't know. We looked up how it works, but it's just literally you step on it and it makes a
little squeaky sound. Now it's not like a really loud squeak, but it does make noise.
It's significant enough to be.
Yeah, it's very
to be something.
It's interesting. Well, anyway, you fight Night Fright in this thing, and you have to like decipher where they are, and you gotta like place mines or place well-timed shots, and you get them.
Something to note too that we didn't say earlier is that not only does Night Fright live on like 4 different maps. Usually when you leave a map, it's a whole new area with all new enemies, right? Night Fright can navigate through 4 different maps and follow you, or has his own type of path. Same with Running Man and whatnot. Enemies do that too.
Enemies do that.
So they don't exist just on one panel. You can move somewhere and
they can follow you.
Follow you, or they have their path. It's pretty neat. It's different from the first game.
Yeah, it's definitely proof of better processing power.
But you defeat Night Fright.
Yes. Who also we said he had camouflage that makes him invisible, right? Okay, cool. Because that's pretty neat.
Not his name?
Nah, his name's kind of lame. I genuinely do like this boss. That's pass for me.
Night Fright sounds like an 80s horror movie.
Right?
I wonder if it is. It sounds like it'd be a horror movie.
Hey everybody, Future Tom here. Turns out Night Fright was a movie that was filmed in 1967 with a rousing 2.7 on IMDb. I am not sure if Kojima saw this, but, thought it was mildly interesting.
It's cute.
Yeah,
it's campy.
It's imagine going to him. It's like, I like your code name. It's cute.
But you defeat him, right? You navigate more areas, and at one point you even run into an area that's like covered in sulfuric acid. It looks like orange liquid on the floor.
Yeah, if you touch it, you die
instantly.
Yes.
Yikes! And there's no way. It's covering the whole floor. There's no way to go by it. And you call Master Miller. And Miller's like, I know what you need. You need to find chocolate. And he states that this chocolate, if you put it in the sulfuric acid, it will neutralize it.
Because of the sugar.
So you have to find chocolate To neutralize the sulfuric. Okay, let's
Yes.
continue.
Well, there are the funny thing is rations heal your health in this game. There are 3 different kinds of rations. There's like ration A, ration B, ration C, right? There's one that has like meat potatoes. There's one that has like, I don't know, like crackers or something. And then there's one that has like chocolate. And you got to put the chocolate one there.
So you got to figure out which is the chocolate one, and
You have to read like the item descriptions.
that's cool. It's intricate.
Mm-hmm.
Silly explanation, but knowing Kojima, it probably is true because I feel like he brings up stuff in games, and it winds up being
It winds up being true somehow.
like the singing sand. We were like, "What the hell is that?" And we look it up. And
It's a real thing.
We're the fools.
It's a singing sand is real. I never knew that.
YouTube it. We looked it up. Very interesting. So you neutralize the acid with the chocolate. Okay, and then you make it through, and Campbell introduces someone else to the team, George Kasler, who's a mercenary expert. He's like, yo, call him to find out anything about enemy weapons or mercenaries. Again, throughout this whole mission, let me remind you that Campbell and other people you call, they're constantly reassuring Snake. And I think that's something that I found that was a cool kind of character point for Solid Snake, in that he needs to be reassured.
Mm.
He has a lot of reservations based on his experience in Outer Heaven. And also, a lot of stuff is not adding up on this base either. So Campbell makes a choice to say, you can trust him. I know him. You could trust her. And it's you're getting that kind of language. It's not often, but it was enough for me to notice that Snake maybe needed that.
Mm-hmm.
You run into Dr. Madnar, and he's like, Dr. Marv is dead. You walk into a room, and like Dr. Marv's on a bed, and Dr. Madnar is standing over him, and he's like, you're too late. He's dead. Snake runs over. He's like, how in the world did this happen? Why are there bruises on his neck?
For some reason, there are bruises on his neck, almost like he got strangled or something.
Damn.
And Madnar just ignores you, and he rambles on how the plans for Oil 9 are safe. And
He monologues about Marv hiding the plans in a game cartridge from Konami, which I thought was a cute little touch.
that's like a little cute little fourth wall break, you know?
He's like, Dr. Marv was really big into video games, and he hid the mechanics in this game cartridge. So like, I have it right here.
So Marv is acting kind of sketchy. There's a beat, and then Holly calls you, and she tells Snake that Madnar is going to kill you because he's bitter with the scientific community and that he's a double agent, and Madnar just cares about Oil 9.
My favorite part is that you're having this conversation in the same room with Dr. Madnar. And so as soon as you hang up with Holly White, he's like, you're done. I like to think Snake had it on speaker.
I would love to think that Snake had it on speaker.
He's like,
Holly, please, God damn it.
He's over here.
I'm standing right in front of him.
So, Madnar is upset with the scientific community because after Metal Gear was built, they shunned him, and they said like he was too radical, or he was just shunned, and he was like expunged from them, and he wanted to get back. He was like, I want to get the blueprints for Oil 9, and I actually want to make Metal Gear this time. So I don't know if it's some kind of like, what is it called when you get kidnapped and you actually start going along?
Tip of my tongue.
Tell me in the comments when we post this, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so you get kidnapped and then you feel sympathy for the kidnapper. I'm blanking.
Well, it's that, because in the first game he was really against Metal Gear and he was really wanting to go home. And this one, he's like, I'm back, baby. I'm a double agent for Zanzibar Land. And remember when I went to take a piss in the sewers? I was calling Gray Fox.
Son of a bitch.
So he was responsible for Gustavo's death.
He was.
And he went first. He was like, let me clear this.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me clear this real quick. Who's going next? You then have to fight the scientist, Dr. Madnar. And when I tell you, his method of fighting is just choking the shit out of you.
I mean, he had plenty of practice with Marv, and he's like, "All right, I'm ready for the big leagues."
I've watched like no hit runs of this game, and the mechanic of this boss fight is literally like he is actively choking you. Like your health goes down. There's moments where Snake's like, I can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
you're actively being choked.
And it's funny too because Snake cannot fight back. You have to kill Madnar with like you could use remote controlled missiles that you could launch and then make it go behind your back because he's choking you from behind. So you have to launch it from in front of you and then make it go behind you and shoot this dude with a remote controlled missile.
And he eats a couple of them.
It's wild.
So you kill him. And he's a little monologue and he's sad. Oh, my daughter, Ellen, boo hoo, whatever. You leave. You leave, you continue on, because again, the goal is still to defeat Metal Gear. So much has happened, but Dr. Keelmarv is gone. So your next real objective is to destroy Metal Gear.
You have to.
So you leave, you navigate through the map, and you run into a random kid. His name is literally just Kid. And he tells you that Gustavus Brooch changes shape when you expose it to heat or cold. So it's temperature dependent. And okay, you run back, you cycle through the level, you run back to where, Dr. Madnar's and Dr. Keelmarv's body is.
Everybody, Future Tom, we forgot to tell you what the brooch was for. It was to unlock a locker that was in Keelmarv's room. So you would have to backtrack, change the shape, and then come back to the room to unlock this locker, which contained the MSX cartridge that had the blueprints to Oil 9 on it. All right, that's all.
And Dr. Madnar is still dying. Like, he's just still in there, I guess, he has time for another little monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And while he's in there, he says, all right, I'll tell you how to defeat Metal Gear. Okay, like, what a
Thanks, man.
What a loser. My favorite part is that the way to defeat Metal Gear is the same way you defeated it in the first game. His failsafe is just to attack the legs.
Again, and mind you, I mean, this Metal Gear is better in every single way. But the previous Metal Gear could only be defeated if you placed it in a very specific order. This one, he designed it and he was like, just hit the legs.
The importance of the Metal Gear is that it's a walking nuke.
Mm-hmm.
So an enemy would be prompted to hit the legs first to stop it from walking.
Yeah, you think that the legs would be a primary target.
Why not make that the strongest? What are Dr. Madnar's motives? Unclear.
I mean, maybe that's why he was shunned from the scientific community.
He was just...
Like, he showed designs for this Metal Gear, and they're like, Dr. Madnar, why are the legs so weak? And he's like, what do you mean? That's my style.
And then a trap door opens under where you're standing, specifically under where you're standing. And you fall through his little shaft. Snake is falling. And you fall into a room and Gray Fox is like, gets ready. Like, he just calls you to fight. It's just a weird little shift. Trap.
It feels like they didn't know how to transfer Snake from one area to another.
Booby trap.
It feels very much like, just a trapdoor. Fine, it's fine.
I guess makes sense with the nature of this base, and we haven't had a trapdoor in a minute, so let's do it right here.
True. And you slide down this vent. It looks like you slide for maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's the fear in that man's body, you see him going for quite some time, and you fall through, and Gray Fox is of course calling you to fight. You exit into a new room and you run into none other than Metal Gear D, and it looks so cool.
It's pretty sick. It's a really cool Metal Gear.
We can't begin to tell you just the design, the mechanics of the fight. Everything is so much more fleshed out, and you can tell that they wanted you to look at this sprite, this design, because it's the focus of the map. You have your little snake sprite running around throwing grenades, but the mech is just so large on the screen and detailed.
It's a gorgeous mech. It's a great fight.
A lot of colors and lights in this fight too. Like, a lot of flashing.
Yes. You throw grenades at it, and eventually you do defeat Metal Gear.
You defeat it, and the screen shifts, I guess, to, Metal Gear is completely dissolved, they're gone, and it shifts to a room, and Gray Fox is there and his head's on fire. And it's just like, he's like, bird in hell, Snake, I hate you. And you're also on fire. Like, Colonel calls you and he's like, yo, everything on you is on fire. You have to drop everything.
And when he means everything, everything's got to go. Every single item that you're carrying has to go. And you drop everything you got.
You're running away from Gray Fox, who's on fire. You're running away. You're throwing your stuff out. And then you enter a room, and Gray Fox there. And Gray Fox like, yo, mano a mano. We are the two greatest rivals in Foxtown, finally here for a fight. First of all, were they rivals? Is this something we didn't know about?
In the first game, Gray Fox was the most experienced member, and Snake was the rookie. Unless there is a backstory there, there's no real reason for them to be rivals.
Maybe it's Gray Fox internally feeling that way?
It could be Gray Fox internally, or it could be, I'm inclined to believe this, that Snake was successful in his mission in Outer Heaven, and that got him a lot of recognition. Like, that made him like, oh, Snake is number one.
And you say Gray Fox is jealous?
It could be that Gray Fox is jealous, and he's thinking, I got to test my skills against Snake.
I see. It just felt funny to me, like, the two greatest rivals in Foxtown. I'm like, Snake never felt that way. I thought it was just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, is he a secret hater, a fan? My mind was going. He says, it's time you learn why they call me Fox, which I thought was really silly. And then George Kasler, remember him? He's the mercenary expert. Mm-hmm. You speak with him on the codec, and he's like, yo, I got some tea right now. Gray Fox's name is Frank Yeager, and he's the best. He's 5 times decorated. He goes, he's mad strong, but maybe if you know about his past, it can help you in this battle. The way I read that, it was like, look, you cannot win in a fight. Maybe you could throw some shade at him. You can throw some little psychic damage. You can say some stuff that hurts his feelings. That's how I took it.
Like, you can't win him in a fight physically, but you could beat him mentally.
And for some reason, Kasler has a lot of gossip. For someone who's into weapons and mercenaries, he's like, yo, he's decorated soldier. His name is Frank Yeager. Yeager means hunter. And remember that Yeager means hunter. And Kasler, he's telling all this gossip. He's like, look, your man had a girl from the Eastern Bloc. The West wouldn't take her. And that's when Frank Yeager was like, I hate the politicos. I hate everything. That girl's name was Gustava.
Wow.
Snake is flabbergasted. The fight ensues, and Frank is defeated. So, Frank Yeager was known as Frank Hunter, and his girl was Gustava. So when you were talking to Gustava, the man that she was in love with is Gray Fox / Frank Yeager.
And the terrible irony is that Frank was the one that killed the love of his life.
Because remember, back when you were trying to cross that bridge, a missile was shot on the bridge while she was crossing it, and Frank Yeager appeared in Metal Gear. We can assume
that the Metal Gear shot the missile.
So my question is, did he see her? Does he know? He makes no mention of it during this fight.
He doesn't. I would assume that he might have just shot that bridge not knowing it was Gustava. That's the way I would think of it. Because, there's no way in hell that Gray Fox would kill Gustava knowingly. Especially on how he felt about her and how she felt about him. Mm-hmm.
And especially them being reunited because they've been kept apart due to, he's in the West and she's in the East. So Gray Fox, in his little dying monologue, talks about being saved twice by Big Boss. He goes into a whole spiel about his background. We find out that Gray Fox is half white and grew up in Vietnam, so he's also half Vietnamese.
That's safe to assume, yeah. And that he was sent to forced labor camps. Later on, Gray Fox was in Mozambique and was being tortured as a Romano soldier.
Do you know what that is?
I actually do not know.
That's interesting. Well, that they literally mentioned, he mentioned that in his dying monologue.
Well, you know what? I will have Future Tom come in and educate all of us on what a Renmeo soldier is. I hope that Future Tom can pull it off.
Take it away, Future Tom.
Wow. An introduction. Cute. Well, Renamo was a Mozambican national resistance political militant group. It seemed to have a lot of sponsorship from the former country of Rhodesia, which, not the best company. I don't feel like getting into geopolitical nonsense of this degree and detract too much from Metal Gear 2. So maybe another time. All right, anyway. Thanks, Future Tom. Gray Fox says, I hate war, but I need it. War is all we knew. We can't survive in the normal world. All I can do is fight.
Gray Fox also throws in a line that hurts me. He says, I can never make a woman happy anyway. No, you don't know that.
Shit, man.
You don't know that.
Sad boy central, man.
Gray Fox is like, you know what, Snake? Also, I'm your number one fan. I was the one calling you on the phone.
Because at the end of the day, they were friends. They were on opposite ends of this conflict.
It just makes things so much more complicated because it's like, who can I trust? Who can Snake trust? My question, again, after this whole little monologue, Gray Fox is dying. Gray Fox says, I'll see you on the other side. And Snake pops up and he says, don't worry, Gustava is waiting for you there. And in my head, does Gray Fox know that Snake knows about Gustava? Like, I'm curious about the timeline.
Well, yeah, but Snake knew about Gustava before this mission even began.
But does Gray Fox know that Snake knows about... You know what I mean? Because think about it like this. Gray Fox is dying.
Uh-huh.
Gray Fox is like, I'm dying. And then Snake's like, don't worry, Gustava's here. If I was Gray Fox, how the hell do you know about Gustava? Mm-hmm. How do you know we're together? You get what I'm saying?
Mm. I think that Snake said that to...
A dying man?
To a dying man to give him some form of comfort.
Okay. I'm thinking too much about it. I'm trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's just a tender emotional moment.
That's what I took it as.
Okay. I was like, Gray Fox, X questions, but Gray Fox there, like, bleeding out and dying.
Damn shame.
At least maybe we can hope Gray Fox and Gustava are ice skating in the big ice rink in the sky.
That'd be nice. Well, you pick up a game cartridge from Gray Fox's body.
And before you can mourn,
you hear, over here, Snake.
I hate that. Over here. And you navigate through rooms and it's a continuous voice going, over here.
And you go through all these doors and you meet none other than Big Boss.
He's alive?
He's alive.
I was hoping all the mention of him earlier was just fanfare.
Nope. He's here.
I wrote a note here and I love this. Solid Snake has been having nightmares, but Big Boss is like, nah, I love this shit.
Yeah, that's true. Solid Snake is like a tortured soul.
Hates war.
He's here to end his PTSD and to get over all of his trauma. And Big Boss is like, you're weak. I'm a messy bitch.
He's like, sex, money, nah, I want war.
This dude's about it.
The kids on this base, more war. They're going to be soldiers for the next battle. Big Boss is just an edgelord. He's just like, I live for the drama. I live for the war, for the violence. So that's what we're made for.
It's almost cartoonish because he's even saying stuff like, oh, all those kids that you saw, yeah, they'll be good soldiers. Yeah, I don't care about sex. I don't care about money. I just want violence. I wake up every day and choose violence.
And I think what's interesting is that, one, Big Boss died in the first game. So he's here again magically.
Somehow, some way he's here.
His body literally exploded in the first game. We see a little poof of smoke. And he exploded then. And now he's here and he looks great. He's in a little uniform and he looks mad cool in his little picture in the codec.
He's got a cool little eye patch, all that stuff.
And there's a whole little back and forth they have. And it's a cool little kind of moment of closure, I feel like. Because Snake is really able to differentiate himself from Big Boss. Like, this is really his moment where I would say he's confronting his nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
Big Boss is the reason why he has these nightmares. And he sees him again and he's like, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. I can maybe live in the real world. I don't need war. I want more than this. And it's a great little kind of moment where he stands up for himself.
He wants to not be in this world anymore. He wants to be a part of something different.
Something better. Again, you have to fight Big Boss. At this time, though, you have no weapons because you just took them off because everything was on fire from the Gray Fox fight.
But Big Boss has weapons.
And boy, does he.
He just annihilates you with this machine gun non-stop. He doesn't give you a countdown. He's just like, oh, bet.
Yo, he's running too, because it's kind of similar to the Night Fright boss fight where there's different maps. Like he runs through a cycle of maps. And again, you're trying to like figure out, how do I beat him with no weapons in my arsenal? How do we find the weapon? We do get a weapon.
Yes. Snake says this during their little encounter at the beginning of this boss fight. He says that you never give up, even when the odds are against you.
Ooh, spitting.
So Snake goes around all these little mini maps and picks up all these little items along the way. And it's a key card to open up a door. It's a ration that has the chocolate in it that you could use to get over a little acid pit to get another item, and then another item, and then you get another one.
It's like a little maze, little puzzles.
It's a little puzzle.
While Big Boss is chasing you.
Yes.
Oh.
And at the end of it, you end up with 2 items. You end up with a lighter and a can of hairspray.
Is it actually hairspray?
I believe it's hairspray, yes.
And you literally make like a makeshift flamethrower. It's like you're like a little kid with Axe body spray and a lighter.
And you're versing Big Boss, the most legendary mercenary of all time.
Not only did he create Outer Heaven, he created Zanzibar Land. He's kidnapping scientists. This man is intelligent.
And Snake comes at him with a tool that delinquent me in 7th grade made.
Frightening.
I know. Look, I didn't do anything bad, but anyway.
And you actually wind up winning. The flamethrower works.
The flamethrower attack did work.
And you light this man on fire, and you kill him for the 2nd time in this series so far.
And he dies like agonizingly. Like he's on fire for like 30 seconds, and then he's like, "It's not over yet."
Oh, God.
It's not over.
At this point, though, he was the last boss in the first game, last boss in the second game. I'm like, okay, the next Metal Gear, if they make a Metal Gear 3, it's going to be, he's the enemy again. Like, it's at this point where you're like, who is Big Boss? You beat him, and you literally exit the room, and a guard comes behind you with a gun. Is like, scares the crap out of you. Reveals itself to be Holly White. Holly, you do not know what I've been through. Why are you scaring me like this?
She's out here playing games, man.
She's like, just kidding. It's me. She's in enemy garb. She gives you a weapon. And at that point, you two are done. Big Boss is dead. Metal Gear is done. It is time to go. You call the pilot? And I'm like, was the pilot always here?
Apparently so.
You call the pilot and you're like, yo, get us out of here. And he says, I got you. Go to the rendezvous point.
Snake and Holly. Book it. Now they have guards running after them. You could fight them if you want, but it is highly discouraged. You just gotta run. Both Snake and Holly run through, and you disengage booby traps.
You're running from enemies.
You fight defensively. You go through an elevator. You run through the jungle, and you reach the rendezvous point. And you call the pilot, and Snake says, "Where are you? We're here. What the fuck?" Pilot, who I think his name is Charlie,
I think so too,
says, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I'm on my way. Hold on." Snake and Holly get surrounded, and right when things look their darkest, Charlie comes, clears the way, and both Snake and Holly board the helicopter and fly home. And you're greeted with like a really nice sunset with the helicopter flying into it.
The same way Metal Gear D was very detailed in design. This helicopter is so just pretty. Honestly, it's just it feels like I'm looking at a comic book sketch.
Yeah, and it's only in the game for like 3 seconds.
It's beautiful. The sunset, the helicopter, you and Holly White are saved. Everything's good.
Everything's perfect.
There's credits again. We had opening credits. Ending credits.
But then after those credits, Snake gives the cartridge to Campbell that has the Oil 9 plans on it. Campbell's like, "Hey, would you like to rejoin the unit? You're really good. You're really good at this, Snake."
Come out of retirement. Just stay with us. You're really good.
Snake's like, I don't know.
While looking at the cartridge that Snake gave them, this is the cartridge that Dr. Marv had the Oil 9 plans on. They turn back and ask Snake a question, and Snake is gone. Snake is just dips.
Just disappears like Batman. Like they turn around and just gone.
And that's how the game ends.
Nuts. What a game.
We have been speaking for hours now. I don't know what time Tom will edit this down to, but we've been speaking for hours.
Now, knowing that Metal Gear, the episode that we did on that was 41 minutes, and this one, Future Tom, how long is this episode?
It's like an hour 45 minutes, dingus. Wrap it up.
Thanks, Future Tom.
Thank you. Is that really goes to show how much detail went into this game. It's insane.
And it only gets bigger from this, and I think it's really based on, one, the capabilities of the console it's on, and two, the amount of power they gave Kojima and his team in designing this. I think Metal Gear was really so successful. They kind of, I feel like they gave Kojima a blank check, and they were like, "Whatever you want, boy. Whatever you want."
And damn, he got what he wanted. This game is incredible.
It's a combination of just remember, the story is so realistic. It's really based on this kind of like, at the time, near future kind of atmosphere where there's real life events that are happening in this game, and you're throwing in our little fan fiction characters. And the visuals, I would say, are gorgeous. Even now, looking back on it, you're like, I want a Metal Gear D for myself. I want a blueprint. I want to see that HUD again. Like, it's really detailed. There were a couple things that we wanted to mention about this game. We have our little notes, and there's just fun things in this game. There's just fun little extras they put in. So, for example, there's little things like the singing sand. Also, the different floor panels. Like, when you step on certain terrains, they have their own sounds. And I just think that level of immersion, too, is fun, because depending on what style of gameplay you're going for, you're either sneaking, you're running and gunning. Like, it's something to take into account.
Also, I would like to reiterate, what was the extraterrestrial unit? What was that?
When we tell you that's never mentioned again, that is never mentioned again in any canon Kojima game. We haven't played the non-canon games.
I can't imagine it being mentioned there either.
Maybe we'll be surprised. But my question. Schneider died, quote unquote, in Outer Heaven, was saved by Big Boss. He became Black Ninja, who had this background in the extraterrestrial unit. So, was that a cover for Black Ninja, or was Schneider part of the extraterrestrial unit?
You think he was just faking it?
But
or when Schneider donned the Black Ninja moniker, that's when he got into the NASA extraterrestrial unit.
How many years passed between Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake?
Metal Gear takes place in 1995. Metal Gear 2 takes place in 1999.
So in the 4 years since Schneider was presumed dead on Outer Heaven, he was in NASA?
That doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. So that's just something that we're going to have to accept. That it's either the NASA unit he was on was a cover as Black Ninja, or Schneider was on it during his time or prior to his resistance. It's just a weird anecdote.
I would like to think that since it's never mentioned again, that he was just lying.
He put on the moniker of Black Ninja, was like, "Here's my story."
He was just like LARPing a little bit,
Another thing we want to mention again is we cannot begin to tell you how Johan Jacobson's picture is the sassiest picture you'll ever see
Just Google it.
Like maybe we should make it the picture of this podcast. Like,
That'd be funny.
like he literally looks like he's looking over his left shoulder and smiling at you. Like it's so funny, and when you combine it with his love for animals and not humans, and his reluctance to like he seems more partial to animals.
Hmm.
So it really just gives off this aura of a man who does not care about humans at all, just wants to be with his pigeons and fish, and it's really funny.
There's lots of sneaky enemy bosses. Like there's like invisible foes. There's bosses hiding in tall grass. There's definitely better variety of bosses in this game.
Bosses and enemies. Like
Mhm.
there are invisible enemies, which I thought was interesting. It really makes it more of a challenge this time around too. Again, like story's more complex, design is more intricate, and then like the gameplay, it like you said, it gives you a variety. It has good replay value in my head.
Mm-hmm. All right, some notable bosses that we want to bring up that we forgot their names or just like a bonus little thing. The boss that was kind of like that Spider-Man guy that chucked the grenades down at Snake.
Oh, I didn't name him.
Their name was Red Blaster.
Man,
Another winner name.
these names keep getting better and better. There's a lot of bosses in this game, by the way.
11.
We counted 11, but I put an honorable mention, and this was a boss for you.
It was a boss for me. It was a swamp maze. Now you're probably wondering, at least the listeners that haven't played this game, Tom, what's the swamp maze? The swamp maze is when you are first engaged with the Hind D and you're tasked to find the Stinger missiles. In the process of doing this, you end up in a swamp. And there's an invisible path that you can go on. And if you don't stay on that path, Snake begins to sink and he eventually dies.
I don't
Now,
need to laugh, sorry.
no, that's okay.
It's just, I'm laughing at how comical it is to walk through that. It is literally walk forward, sink, walk back. Walk forward in a different direction, sink, walk back. It is such hot and cold, touch and go.
And I hate it. I'm not kidding. I streamed this game, God, what was it, like February of 2023? I feel like I was on that screen for like 30 minutes.
Did we look up a game FAQ for that?
Yeah, and it didn't help.
It really did. Because there was game FAQ, there was no pictures, there was no design. So
Yeah.
it was like, go left, right. Like, it was kind of like fighting Metal Gear again. Left, right, up.
Yeah, there was no real way to do it. So I just had to like grit my teeth and just go through it. And I eventually get through it. But God, that is rough.
And it's funny because, like, while you're there, you just see these sprites of these little kids running back and forth. And it's just like, my patience is wearing thin.
These goddamn kids. How did the kids get through fine?
Honestly, as we near the end of this podcast, and thank you all for listening this far. Again, we cannot begin to express how much you should play this game. I just want to reiterate, this game is really bringing up a lot of topics of what it means to be a soldier, what it means to have a mission, what it means to be traumatized, what it means to trust and be a member of society. Like, I can only think about what Solid Snake is feeling right now. By this point, Snake was betrayed twice by Big Boss, and Big Boss was presumed dead the first time, so for him to reappear is traumatizing in that, hey, the guy I killed was alive. Also, the guy that caused my nightmares is still alive, and also created this whole new set of nightmares. Snake is really going through it. I mean, Campbell is terrible for wanting to take him out of retirement.
Yeah. You could argue that Snake was the only one that was capable, but there might have been someone else.
Like, they couldn't give him a break. I mean, again, I mentioned this earlier, but I feel like Campbell's choice of words, you can trust me, you can trust him, I feel like that was deliberate. I feel like it was a message for us as the players, but also for Snake to be reassured constantly throughout this game.
Like, don't worry, your superiors won't betray you.
Trust me, like it's not gonna happen again. Yeah, Big Boss is back again. Yeah, Schneider's back again. Yeah, there's another base that Big Boss built. But everything else is okay.
Everything's
and
gonna be
different.
fine. You also have to fight your best friend. But don't worry about it. It's okay. It's just part of the job, you know?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what Snake will continue to go on throughout the series. This is the second game in the series. Snake is a main character in a number of these games. Solid Snake is a main character in a number of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm left to wonder what other hijinks will they make this man go through?
God knows.
And at this point too, he's only what, 29?
Late 20s.
Late 20s. Went through numerous tragedies. Saw people die in front of him, went through traumatic events, witnessed people experiencing traumatic events like vicarious trauma. I think it's significant that at the end of the game, his departure is so lackluster. Because in the first game, his departure is like, I would say fanfare. It's him running, the explosion in the back and whatnot. And this one, it's literally like
he dips off screen.
Off screen, dips off screen. No goodbye, no this. It's just like, Snake, where are you? I feel like that's significant too. Like Snake is just done.
Yeah.
Baby boy Snake. I wish we could say it gets better from here.
Maybe it does.
Maybe he finds love.
Maybe he does.
Maybe he gets a family.
Maybe he does. It's possible.
I guess we'll find out. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. This is a long episode. Our first one was about 41 minutes. I can imagine this is probably double. I hope you enjoy it. We are committed to bring you an episode next Tuesday. Next Tuesday will be the Metal Gear Solid episode, which Tom knows like the back of his hand.
That's the game that brought me into this series. That this game holds a very special place in my heart.
So it's gonna be me taking notes, you actually just expressing it from the top of your head. And we will have a pop quiz at the top of the episode. So this is a long one. This is a doozy. Hope you were taking notes. Otherwise, please let us know how we did. Any feedback, any questions, comments, feel free to let us know. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, thank you so much. I look forward to recording the next episode. And we are about 2 weeks away from the Metal Gear Solid collection being released.
I can't believe that it's so close.
I'm excited for you. And all of you listening. Everyone, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Class dismissed.